Hi, my name is Bill Fredericks, and I'm in recovery for alcohol abuse and a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I live in Sutton with my wife and 3 kids, and we attend Faith Community Church in Hopkinton. I want to preface my remarks by saying that I've been clean and sober since March 28, 1991 through AA, and most of my testimony will reflect that. I lived in a happy, healthy home. And on the weekends, sometimes me and my friends would get some beer and go into the woods. Nothing serious. I had a lot of fun with alcohol, and then at some point, alcohol started having a lot of fun with me. It controlled my decisions. I got a job bartending downtown Boston, made a lot of money there. You know, it was just enough to be able to accommodate my late nights and my drinking. And I had a girlfriend who drank like me. I mean, alcohol was making all the decisions of what I did and who I hung out with. Eventually, my drinking spiraled out of control. I lost my job at the bar by drinking on the job. I lost my apartment in Beacon Hill and was evicted. I moved to South Boston, where I lived in a rented room. I didn't have any furniture, so I used trash bags full of clothes as a makeshift bed. And I lived like this for a couple of years. It was acceptable to me. I didn't know anybody else who was living like this, but in order to drink the way I wanted to drink, this was an acceptable thing that I just thought was fine. In 1989, I finally hit a low point. My father came and got me, and I ended up in detox in Quincy. I spent a period of time there before I got out, and when I got out, I started attending AA meetings. I didn't really know that much about AA, but I knew that people could get sober there. So I went to all the meetings, and I just thought if you sat next to the right people, and that if you went to a meeting every night, then you would get sober. And what I did not do either is seek God's intervention in my life. I was still trying to do this on my own in the way I wanted to do it, and that was a recipe for disaster. I struggled with sobriety on and off for a couple of years. During that period of time, I had reconnected with a girl that I knew, Ann, and we started dating. It wasn't a long period of time before my drinking and my lies ruined that relationship. Ann grew up with an alcoholic father who was also abusive, and she saw what that life was like, and she just didn't want that for her, so she left. I've had a lot of losses in my life between cars and people and jobs and everything, but this loss was different. Being with Ann, I finally had a glimpse of what a good, normal life would be, and I drank it all away. My life was an unmanageable mess. On March 28, 1991, I was driving my $500 unregistered van down Blue Hill Ave, and I finally just pulled over, looked up to the sky and said, Lord, I can't do this anymore. Please take over my life. It was complete surrender. It wasn't like before, like, oh, please God, get me out of this one and I promise I'll go to church. This was, I was finally broken to the point where I was willing to give it all up into the care of someone who'll take care of me. I couldn't do it alone anymore. I finally sought God's help, and I just asked him, please take over my life. I know God was with me because I got through that first day without a drink. It was one of my worst days, and I didn't drink. So I knew on the very first day that when I turned my life over to him, he was able to do what I couldn't do, stay away from a drink. God works through people. I started getting calls from friends of mine that took me to meetings, that helped me out, that spoke wisdom into my life, that cared about whether or not I was going to be at a meeting or not. My sponsor was very important. He started guiding me through the steps of recovery and started speaking even more wisdom into my life. And that wisdom came all through what God wants for me, not what I want for me. After a period of quality sobriety, fortunately, against all advice, Ann came back into my life. It took a while to earn her trust, but eventually we got married, we had kids, bought a house, and started a successful business. Life was good. Sobriety is a gift, and it's a gift to be shared. What I was doing is I was living a nice life, and I wasn't really doing too much sharing. So when Celebrate Recovery started at Faith Community Church, I got involved. And it was great to finally have a God-centered, God-focused recovery program, because I knew that my own sobriety was nothing without giving my life over to God, and I knew that God was the author of my sobriety, not anything that I did. When I started to seek God with all my heart, He was found by me. I knew that God had a better plan for my life than the madness that it turned into. No greater illustration of that was when my wife and I were in China to adopt our baby girl. And we were standing on the Great Wall of China, and I'm looking around thinking to myself, how did a drunk from Boston get here? His ways are so much greater than ours. It wasn't always easy, nor that I expected it to be. In the beginning of my sobriety, if you had asked what I wanted, it would have been to not shake in the morning, to drive a car that was registered, and to live in an apartment I wasn't in fear of getting thrown out of. But God had so much more for my life. He has given me a life that I could never have imagined. Every journey begins with a single step. If you're struggling with alcohol, take that first step. Join Celebrate Recovery and reclaim the life that God wants for you.